Hey guys, what's up? Scott here with another video game review on UFC Undisputed 3. First thing I have to say off about this game, bitter sweet. The sweet part about it is that it's such a solid MMA game. I mean, the best in the series. The bitter part about it is that the company that made it, THQ, no longer exists. When I start with this, I have to say, career mode. One of the problems I had with the previous UFC Undisputed series was that, they had way too many menus, and the training. You spent so much time training. You spent more time training and less time fighting, that it really took you, it took you out of the octagon. It took you out of the action. But Undisputed 3 doesn't have that problem. Thank God. That's one of the biggest things I love about this game. You still require that you train. It's still important that you still do train your fighter before getting into the fight. But the training is not so strenuous, and it doesn't take up so much of your time that you spend less time fighting. You spend just as amount. The time you spend in training is just as much time you will spend in fighting, and I love that. It keeps things going, and it doesn't make it dull. So I really love about that, and that brings on to one of the highlights. I think that you have here is the training. The training in here, I think, is just as challenging and just as difficult as the fighting itself. Now, you can simulate, the training, but you won't get the real payoff and the real benefits of your training unless you do it yourself. And I think just the various types of training that you can do in this game, I think THQ, the way they've planned this whole thing out, and the way you can train your fighter in the little mini games you play, I think it's great. It's great. And like I said, the training, it really helps. When you train your fighter and you pass your training and you do a good job, and then you win a fight, based off your training, you really get a big sense of accomplishment, because it really feels like all the training and hard work that you put in training and prepping your fighter, it pays off once you win a fight, and I love that. Another thing I really love about this game is I think a lot of people, I don't think a lot of people really consider a highlight for them, but it is for me, and that is in the career mode. This is the first time in the Undisputed series that you can actually play as the real UFC MMA fighters in career mode. Games like this, a lot of people like to dive in right away with their creative players and just start career mode like that. With me, I'm the exact total opposite. Games like this, I like to play as people I'm a fan of. I like to play as the stars that I see on TV, guys that I like. Those are the guys I like to play in career and in story mode. So, the John Jones, the Frank Mirs, the Brock Lesnars, the Chael Sonnens, the Anderson Silvas, these are the guys I like to play, and I get that chance and that opportunity to play them in the story mode, and that's what I really, really love. Once I flip a game a few times, then I'll go back and I'll play it as myself. But I'm really glad that you can play as the real UFC fighters in this game. I think the combat in here, the controls, I think is great. I mean, there's not one button on this controller that you will not be in use. I mean, you use every button to its advantage. Every control and every button you press has an action or counter action to it. The controls, it emulates the way the fighter moves and stuff really well. I think the way that they've emulated how UFC fighters fight in real life, I think they've done it really well in this game, and it flows really well. How they move and stuff by the controls on your controller. Some of the hardcore Undisputed fans had kind of complained with this year's game, saying that this game was catered more to the hardcore fans. The casual fans. The controls and everything was to the casual fans. Me, I don't really necessarily see it as that much of a big of a deal, because UFC and the MMA is the most prominent, dominant sport we have today in this generation. So some people that may want to be into UFC, want to get into it for the very first time, and want to pick up the game to get into it, who are new to the MMA world, they can easily get into this. You know, you can play minor controls for the minor players, or you can play, you know, a pro control. Choose to play pro controller for the more experienced players, such as myself or anyone else who've had experience with the Undisputed series. I really see no big deal with the controls. You know, I think Undisputed 3 caters to both the hardcore, the casual, and the newcomers. I think it does a splendid job in catering to all three of those categories of gamers. Another thing I really like about this game is you have Pride on here. Pride is featured on here. Pride being another MMA company that unfortunately UFC just had to buy out a couple of years ago. Pride is featured on here. Don't quote me on it, but I think you can play Pride in story mode. You do get to play as Pride on here, but I think you do get to play as Pride in story mode. Because you start from 3 organizations. You start off on a rinky-dink kind of like MMA underground company, WFA, and then from there you move on to Pride and then the big leagues, UFC. On here you have sponsors on here. And like real legit sponsors, not like something fake that's made up, like real sponsors from like Echo, MMA Elite, UFC, and everything else. So you have real sponsors that you could have, and you know, change up your gear. The customization, I think, on here to customize your fighter and whatnot, I think is great. It's very detailed and thorough. The graphics, visually, this game looks great. I think the graphics are good. The controls and solid is solid. It's the fighting is solid. I mean, when you hit somebody across their face, you feel it. I mean, every hit, every submission, you literally feel like you're giving it to the guy and you're making them tap, or you're making them knock out or knocking them out. In this game, it's a hard-hitting game. You feel the blows, which I like. I like those kind of games where you can like feel the impact that you're giving. I really like that. The submission. That's one of the big key things. Submission sucked in previous Undisputed titles. The submission in here, much better. You have a diagram of the octagon that comes on the middle of the screen, and you have to move your right analog stick icon around your opponent's icon. But the new submission system, it's easy, it's effective, and it works. I love it. You have 150 fighters. You have the banter and featherweight division added on here, so there's more fighters. You have seven classes of division classes, I think, in here. 150 fighters, some of the best fighters in MMA. So you definitely probably the largest roster in any fighting game history. I would definitely say. Like I said, I love the commentary is good. That's another key highlight I really like about this game is the presentation. Once you get to UFC, the presentation of UFC, once you get to it, is just like that what you see off of television. I mean, from the commentary, the entrance, the video packages that they set up, for your fighter. I mean, the bell for bell play, the replays, the calls, everything. Everything that you see off of UFC television is emulated well, I say, and perfectly into this game. The production work and how they emulated, UFC in real life is great. I love it. You get like that big fighter like feel. You get that big fighter feel. It's great. You can even choose to retire on here, like in your career, like retire with your fighter, which is like, it's sick. That's insane. You can retire. So I mean, just little things like that just adds realism to the game. It just makes the overall very well enjoyable. It's a challenging fighter. I mean, it's challenging. I mean, if you can get a TKO, not a regular KO, a TKO, or a submission, which is kind of hard to do. The knockouts are kind of rare to get. But man, once you land the TKO, or you get a submission, you land a submission or a TKO, you get it's a tremendous feeling. I mean, when you can land one of those blows, I mean, you feel like a badass when you can make somebody tap. If you can land a total knockout, it's very challenging. It's a fighting game that's challenging, but it's also strategic, because you can look at the records of your opponents and look at their strengths and their weaknesses, and what you can do to improve on that. You can train at real gyms, like the Jackson Gym. That's what I'm training in, the Jackson Gym, same gym that John Jones has been famous and who is a part of, his gym. You can customize your fighters' fighting styles and fighting ability, suited to your needs and what you like to learn. So you can customize your fighting ability, which is great. Another great thing, like I say, train various gyms. You can be loyal to a certain gym if you choose to. So I mean, great MMA fighter. It's challenging. It's a good challenge. It's fun. This is an MMA game I can sink my teeth into. I give Undisputed 3 an 8.75 out of 10. I think it's that good. I highly recommend anybody picking it up. If you're not, if you already have it, I'm pretty sure you might love it as well. The only bad thing is that this is the last game to come from THQ, since they no longer exist and they've closed their doors. Kind of concerned that EA is picking it up, because EA's first and last MMA game I didn't particularly care for. MMA wasn't a bad game, but it wasn't the best either. It looked great, but it just really didn't resonate with me too well. So I'm kind of afraid that that after THQ slammed this out of the park, that the series is now going under the hands of EA, which we know is a terrible company. So I'm really afraid for the series if it's going to since it's under EA's umbrella now. But all in all, solid fighter. You guys let me know what you think in the box below. Subscribe. Peace.